Aditya will start with the introduction to SINE and then introduce the speakers as well. Aditya, you may take over.
Hi everyone. Hi Akhil. Hi Praful. Hi Mani. So good morning everyone. Good morning all. I'm Aditya. I'm part of incubation team at SINE, and so SINE is basically a technology-focused incubator based in IIT Bombay, and we support startups with the key differentiator in technology, and which comes with some IP background. So we have established, SINE is established since 2004, and we have more than 190 startups so far. Currently, we support 53 startups, from which more than 50% are in healthcare domain, and we continue to support such kind of startups in future as well. So now SINE has organized this webinar with collaboration with MathWorks, which is based on data analytics and machine learning for FDA-regulated medical applications. And for this, we are fortunate enough to have two speakers from MathWorks team. So let me introduce both of them before we start and we go ahead. So first we have Mr. Akhil Gopinath from MathWorks team. He is from education technical. He's an education technical expert at MathWorks, where he supports educators, students, researchers for successful using of MATLAB and Simulink. He did his MS in chemical engineering from IIT Madras, and also got awarded with Srimati D.L. Saraswati Memorial Prize in 2019 for research in environmental engineering. He has specialized in AI, autonomous system development, modeling, simulation, specialized in chemical process, statistical analysis, and many more areas. So we are glad to have you, Akhil, here. The second expert, what we have, who we have is Mr. Praful Pai. He also works with the education team at MathWorks India, where his focus is on collaborating with faculty, researchers, and students to make STEM education engaging and accelerating. Research in science and physical science and engineering. So Praful has completed his undergraduate studies in biomedical engineering from Manipal Institute, and then he did his MS in electronics and electrical communication engineering from IIT Kharagpur. Prior to joining MathWorks, he worked as a research scientist with National Brain Research Center, Gurgaon, on developing on an MRI brain template for the Indian population. So pleasure to have you, sir, on board for this webinar. So with this note, I would like to hand over to Akhil and Praful to take this webinar forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your kind words and introduction, Aditya. It's a pleasure to be here and to interact with everyone out here who is, working on groundbreaking research and projects. Praful, do you want to add something?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Aditya and Vandana, so for helping us organize this interaction as well. So we also have Kapil and Maheen from the MathWorks team here, and we're primarily kind of having this interaction as part of the MathWorks Accelerator program, wherein MathWorks partners with startups, accelerators, and incubators like SINE, and to provide access to MATLAB and Simulink, as well as to various other benefits such as technical support, mentorship, and access to engineering support from MathWorks experts. So we have primarily kind of wanted to interact with, say, the incubators and the companies at SINE, as well as you as the teams behind each of these companies on this. So if you want more details on this, the accelerator program itself, please check the chat. Maheen might have posted something there. And yeah, that's it from my end. Till, please go ahead with the rest of the presentation.
Thank you so much, Praful. So without much delay, I think we'll get started. So today we wanted to talk to you about data analytics and machine learning for FDA-regulated medical applications. So Praful would be accompanying me, and during this journey of understanding what we can help you out with in this area, if you have any queries or questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat window. We would also have a dedicated discussion towards the end, but you do not have to keep waiting. Praful is always ready out there in the chat to help you out with some immediate questions that you may be having. So we believe in interaction to understand a bit more. So at any point of time, we would be highly appreciative of any questions or any queries or any inputs that you are giving. So with that, let's get started. So
I'm starting the procedure. Sanjay, everything is okay at your end, I suppose?
If something goes wrong in a remote case, have we thought enough about risk management and protocol for how we're going to handle those issues so there's no lapse in patient care, there's no risk introduced to the patient? Those are the things when you're watching a first-in-human case, having not done it before, that you're a little panicked about.
Those were probably the most stressful hours of my life. We have telepresence systems so that the physician can communicate with audio and video to the room and the staff. So there's 2 cameras in the cath lab.
Corindus does robotics for interventional procedures, all minimally invasive, coils, wires, catheters. You run into people all the time that have a family member that suffered from a stroke, themselves, that has a stent, or someone in the family's had a heart attack. We not only affect the patient, we affect the patient's employer, we affect the patient's family, and it's just this ripple effect of many lives that you touch by providing a tool to just make the quality of healthcare better.
The need was to solve the revascularization of the heart. The secondary need was for radiation protection. Why don't we do a robot to do this? And you will now be less radiation exposure, less fatigue from wearing lead, less occupational hazards.
And in the end, cases just get done more successfully, and you get back to doing more cases in a day, and that's the benefit.
I designed the controllers using MATLAB and Simulink. Although something may look simple, it's actually pretty well-engineered device. We basically got a working system for in vivo testing in an animal model to verify that we could indeed manipulate catheters safely inside a patient. Mark Tolan challenged the team that he wanted us to basically be able to do a coronary intervention remotely. And then that's where the trip to India comes into play.
I have activated the console.
So it was almost a surreal experience as it was being live broadcasted to Indian television.
Dr. Tejas Patel performed 5 interventions. Each one got a new stent.
Inject, and we are done.
So what we did in India was really proof that it works in principle, that it can be done.
We're all really fired up about the potential of disrupting the way healthcare is practiced and shooting toward this target that has the potential to benefit hundreds of thousands of people.
So that's the story of Corindus, who worked with us, and we worked with them actually, to create one of the first telerobotic coronary intervention surgical robot and device. What they could, get by building such a device was not only to, reduce the development time by like 50%, but they also reduce the engineering effort by 80%. And now, they can actually do 8 to 10 surgeries in a day, which was not possible earlier. So that's changing the way how healthcare is becoming accessible, and also how we are making it more, efficient and less susceptible to errors due to fatigue, etc. So with that, just wanted to ensure that we are not only focusing on one area, but there are many, many other areas and stories that I would want to share with you, whether it is from creating wearable devices to ensuring that medical manufacturing is going on properly, to thinking about something very unique, very new to solve, some real world problems like motor neurodegenerative diseases, to enabling people who have almost given up on their dreams because of certain unfortunate accidents to live their dreams again and do much better than they would have done before. So with this, let me start our journey. So why we are talking to you about this? So Gartner Magic Quadrant is an independent analysis of different platforms, proprietary platforms for AI and data science. And in 2020 and 2021, consecutively, MathWorks have been identified as one of the leaders in this area in terms of ability to execute and the completeness of vision in terms of where we want the data science and the AI ecosystem to go to, or how do we support them. So we do this by ensuring that every year we understand what is the current need of the industry, current need of the research, what is happening in the world, and keep on updating ourselves, keep on making things better and better, more and more accessible to every one of our users. So in 2022, I would say, along with these, one of the most important paradigm or a factor that I would personally consider to be very important and useful to move ahead would be the examples. There are almost 500 plus examples in various areas and domains which are available to you as a template and as a working information to get started. So you do not have to start with scratch in most of the areas. So you always have a reference to begin with. So the AI definition over the years have changed significantly, which started with the capability of machines to imitate intelligent human behavior, has now extended to a part wherein we want to exceed the intelligent human behavior. And we do this by training a machine to learn the desired behavior. And this is synonymous to the data science, data analytics, and advanced data related workflows that we have seen over the years now. Now, how is this happening? Right? So let's talk about a changing landscape in terms of medical industry. The industry trend is around software is no longer just a piece of code in your computer. It's actually a medical device. There are a lot of variables, healthcare applications that are coming out. IoT and cloud solutions for healthcare is on a boom. Machine and deep learning to enable doctor-free analysis of certain, regular day-to-day tasks is actually becoming more and more popular. How is this going on, right? And there might be new challenges that come associated with these trends. Couple of them are big data explosion. Data is everywhere. We are now collecting a lot of data. We are analyzing a lot of data. So we have to tackle this big data. There is a significant pace at which we are progressing in this area. So we have our solutions which are evolving at quite a rapid pace, and we have to keep updating ourselves. We have multitude of softwares out there, but a lot of them that we use, we do not know exactly what is the origin of them. So we call them software of unknown provenance. Cloud computing is becoming more and more important. So how do you scale it up on the cloud? So these are kind of new challenges that come up. And with these new challenges, we have to identify new solutions. And one of the major solutions in this area would be data analytics, AI, etc. Right? And let us take a very broad level understanding or a look of what these new challenges might be and list them out. And we'll see, is there a way for us to address these? So if I list out few challenges in machine learning and data analytics, they would be off the bat handling large and messy data sets, right? Meanwhile, do you think there are any challenges that you face in this particular area? If there is any, please do drop it in the chat window as well. It can also be about the time that you spend over, coding, syntax error, debugging, ensuring that everything is up to, the scale that you want to put up. Then ramping up on multiple tools, because there are different verticals of engineering associated in a problem solving. So there might be different tools that you have to interface, connect together, different piece of code or different piece of artifacts that have to come together. So that does take up a lot of time and management and learning curve to complete. Again, software on unknown provenance. This is very important because when we go for approvals, FDA approvals, etc., this becomes a bit of a nuance because you do not know what is the origin and what is the, whether you can actually validate what's happening or not. And then at the end of the day, when you have to deploy something onto a hardware or onto a device or onto an edge device, etc., the problem starts with you have to manually code or rewrite certain things, or you have to, deploy different objectives or different algorithms to ensure that these are being deployed on different platforms. So these are the challenges which we have typically heard from people. If you have any more challenges, do share your thoughts in the chat window, and we'll be more than happy to take a look into it and see if we can actually say or give you some artifacts or resources to help you on this. So what is data analytics in general? Right? We have huge volumes of data that we have understood from the big data boom that we have already addressed. So we want to convert this complex, large amount of data into something actionable. So we want the data to drive our decisions. It can be either descriptive of what happened, to diagnostic, why it happened, to predictive, like when will something happen, to something more prescriptive, or what should be done if this happens, right? So with that, what happens is when we think about data analytics, machine learning being one of the most common area, I'll be focusing on that today. We typically focus on the AI model itself. We say, okay, let's do this model, let's work on this model, or let's modify this model, let's tweak this model, let's train this model in a different way, etc. So most of us kind of focus solely on AI model most of the time, and we give a less importance to the other verticals. So I want to share a holistic approach towards the AI, machine learning or data analytics workflow, wherein we are not focusing only on the modeling bit of it, but we see how it actually translates from accessing data from different sensors, files, or databases to analyzing data. You have to pre-process data. You have to understand what the data is all about. Use your domain expertise to figure out what algorithms to identify these useful information from the data. Then use that information for data modeling, wherein we are quite robust and good at. Decide on how to integrate that to a bigger system, and then figure out if it is working as intended there. Then last but not the least, we want to deploy it. It can be on a device, it can be on desktop, it can be on your mobile phone, it can be anything. So based on what you want, we have to find a deployment workflow. So I wanted to actually share a few stories with you to see how we have been working with students and researchers across the world, enabling them to do exactly the same thing that we mentioned right now. So this is a photo of Brian and his colleagues, checking out a baby with the jacket, which they call Mama Ope jacket. This is for detection of pneumonia in infants below 5 years of age. So they are from Uganda. According to the study, in Uganda, pneumonia in children or infants is one of the leading causes of deaths, infant deaths. And Brian and their colleagues from the Makerere University, they were like, they don't want this to happen. They want to figure out, is there a possible way to stop it? And when they found out the root cause, they figured out it is because there are very few doctors around. So the diagnosis of pneumonia usually happens very late, right? So healthcare facilities are not there. So they were like, can we make something which can actually enable people to diagnose pneumonia without having a doctor nearby, and help people and help kids to overcome this, right? So what they thought of is the Mama Ope jacket. Let me walk you through the journey, what they actually got through. As always, they also started with the same 4 verticals that we talked about, which is a typical machine learning workflow, which has four accessing data, analyzing data, development, and deployment. So first challenge was accessing data. So measuring temperature, figuring out how much or what is the pace of breathing, etc., is quite easy. You have sensors for that and you can do that. But one of the most important parameter or indicator for pneumonia is when doctors actually hear what's the noise that the lungs are making using a stethoscope. So they had to ideate, think about, and revolutionize how they actually get this information. That's where the Mama OP jacket came into picture, wherein they had kept multiple microphones. If I'm not wrong, they had 5 microphones set, at different parts of this Mama OP jacket after discussing with the medical professional to ensure that they are getting the correct information, correct data to do the further analysis. And what I'm going to play right now is something of information that they collected. And they did a transformation or pre-processing bit in MATLAB. So what they did is they analyzed this data that they have collected and used it to extract certain features for their machine learning model. So what they did is they used, because they were not programmers, they were not proclaimed with programming paradigms. They wanted something which is easy and point and click for them to test out and try out their understanding of machine learning and their expertise in the biomedical area. So what they did is they basically used an application in MATLAB known as Signal Analyzer to kind of analyze the signals and extract features from this. Now, with these different algorithmic areas that they were able to quickly play with using the Signal Analyzer application, they found certain features. Then using those features, what they were able to do is they were able to use another application in MATLAB known as Classification Learner application to design and train their machine learning model. And they were able to quickly prototype between different types of model to get a sense of direction of what models would be quite useful or significant for them to work with, right? And finally, when they actually identified that, okay, this is the kind of accuracy that is acceptable, they deployed it in a very interesting manner. So the jacket is connected via Bluetooth and sends information to a mobile device, which contains an application which is running this machine learning model and quickly tells whether the person has pneumonia, whether the kid has pneumonia or not. And it does not actually stop there, because this is just preliminary understanding, right? They actually send it for an informed decision making to doctors. So in this way, doctors are getting curated information, and they can focus on the information that is coming in from the Mama OP jacket based on all the data that they have assessed, and they can make quick decisions and tell what to do, right? So a couple of things that they used I want to highlight is the signal labeling app, because when they wanted to label certain signals, they wanted to interactively do that again. So Signal Labeler app actually helped them to do this. So what you see is a snippet of Signal Labeler app at the back, and there are multitude of other labelers that helps you to do the same thing for different types of data, whether it is audio, whether it is image, whether it is video, etc. And whether it is a completely different set of data type, you have ground truth labeler to help you with that. Just wanted to ensure that cover up this portion. So this is a video of how easily Signal Labeling app helps you to label your signals. So for example, we are using an ECG signal so that it's easier and it's available, and I can share this with you later on so that you can also try this at your end. So what you can do is you can import the data simply into your application, select the region that you are interested to look at, create your labels by defining what that label would represent. I'll quickly go through this, and then defining what type of a label it is, whether it is categorical, whether it is continuous. Then talk about what are the different sets of part it has, then create sub definition or sub labels according to it. Then go to the label portion, then plot your label, select the region based on your domain expertise that is of interest, and you believe that will represent this particular labeling part, and expand that to other values. You can ensure that you're identifying it based on certain parameters, like maybe it is the peaks, right? And you can automate this task as you go ahead. So just to skip through the last portion. So once you have done with all of this, you will kind of come up with data which is labeled interactively with respect to all the values and parameterizations or algorithms that you want. And you get a feature known as auto labeler that can automate this task repeatedly over your other other required signals or functionalities. And you can always always export this as a file or to your workspace so that you can repeat this task again and again. Great. With that, let me go ahead and show you another example of what it might be for Brian, because it is Brian's work. We do not have the video for that, but this is similar to what Brian was doing in terms of human activity recognition. This is just to showcase how a classification machine learning model can be easily created in MATLAB using an application in MATLAB. So in the app section of MATLAB, you will see there is different applications that are available for your use cases. There is something known as classification learner application, wherein you can actually perform your machine learning model development in an interactive way. You import the data, you define what are the models that you want to try with. If you're not sure of what models are and you want to figure out what direction to go in, you can actually select a quick train to all. So it will automatically figure out all the models that you have to train, and you can actually train it. And as you see up over here, there is a small thing which is known as parallel. So just by clicking a button, you can actually parallelize the entire training process so that you are actually speeding up the process of computing and testing out and prototyping what kind of model that you want to work with. Later on, you can actually export this model into your workspace or generate function out of it, because you may want to deploy it later on. So this function this function is automatically created for you, and all the indicators of the performance of how your model is working is actually provided for you. So this can act as a preliminary step for a person who is pretty new to programming or pretty new to machine learning to quickly identify what kind of model, what kind of direction, what kind of process you want to deploy. So that's the beauty of using this app-based workflow. And this is exactly what Brian and his team used to prototype all the different machine learning models they believed would be suitable for their workflow. So just like classification learner app, statistics and machine learning is something that we hold very dear to, and we have multiple applications along with the classification learner app to help you with the journey of machine learning. There is also an application known as regression learner if you want to do regressions. And most importantly, if you're working with very big data, which is an out of memory data, you always have functionalities like tall arrays to ensure that your data is actually workable in the system that you have, rather than giving you out of memory errors, etc. And you do not have to do anything. You just maybe have to change the name of one line. That's it. And at the end of the day, all these applications that you see up over here will generate MATLAB codes which can be converted to C code. So this will help you to deploy this interactively, efficiently, without having to manually rewrite anything. So that is also there. So basically, Brian followed the typical and general machine learning workflow of getting the data, analyzing the data, extracting features from that, then performing classification using classification learner application, and to figure out whether the kid is normal or does the kid have pneumonia. And it was such a revolutionary idea that Brian and his team not only won at a competition in UC Berkeley, they are currently in the prototype, alpha prototype of this particular Mama OP jacket, and UNICEF has already shown interest in making this jacket available to multitude of countries out there, so as to ensure that if this childbirth or infant pneumonia cases are there, they can actually identify it and reduce the infant deaths. So few years down the lane, if you hear that UNICEF is claiming that the infant deaths due to pneumonia is reduced, maybe we can think of Mama OP jackets and a lot of OP in there. So that's one story I wanted to say and share with you. So before I move ahead, are there any questions? Praful, any questions? So I see there is one in the Q&A portion.
Yeah, there is one question on signal annotation in which for ECG signals. So can that be done in MATLAB, and can we automate that process? So maybe Akhil, if you want to talk about a little bit about that.
Sure. So I believe you're referring to Vijaya's question.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So ECG annotation, yes, that's exactly that you can do using MATLAB. You can automatically annotate signals, yes. You can, identify what is a pattern that the system wants to follow, and you can automate that task to repeatedly annotate the signal. This may require a little bit of understanding from your end. What is the kind of, fundamental understanding behind the signal that you want to deploy for automation? So maybe how about we connect with you separately, Vijaya, to kind of give you the example that we are going to work on today, so that you can get a gist of how to automate that for a generic signal, and then we can work with you on to figuring out how we can do that specifically for your type of signal. Is that okay?
Yeah, Kid, I think we can move on. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, there is one question in the Q&A portion. Okay, Praful have answered that. Great. Thanks, Praful. Great. With that in mind, let's actually move ahead. The second bit of, one of the most important or difficult area for Brian and his team in this journey was feature extraction. They had their doctors, they had their team of medical experts there to, kind of help them understand what features are important. But it still was difficult because there are numerous features out there that we can think of, right? So one question that comes up to all of our mind is, are we ready for AI or machine learning when we have never actually used it, or we have never had basic programming understanding before, because we are not in that domain? So the answer that Brian and team let us to know is, no experience is needed to get started. You can always use app-based or, GUI-based workflows to quickly grasp a sense in the direction of what's happening. You can use your domain expertise and applications specifically built for your domain expertise to help you, tackle with the feature extraction, feature definition, data management, data preparation tasks. And you can use applications again to ensure you're trying out all the different models out there before actually focusing on one, so that you do not have to learn about, let's say 50 different models out there. You can also take a look at your research articles, research papers out there in that domain, figure out your own models as well, and create an ensemble model or something and get things moving across very interactively. So these are the kind of things that you can actually do. Now, as I was saying about feature extraction, what to do if you're not able to identify relevant features in your data? That becomes a very big question, because for machine learning, that is kind of an art, identifying the features and ensuring you're getting the features which are able to describe your data properly. So we do help you with that in providing certain signal processing workflows like Wavelets, and using this to extract features. So there are possible workflows using wavelet analysis to ensure that you are able to identify what all different features might be there which can contribute to your data and understand the data properly. So to know a little bit more about Wavelet, I think we will need a little bit of time, but I'm going to leave you with this thought of Wavelets right now, and then we'll move ahead and come back, if time permits us in the end, to take a little bit of deeper look into what wavelet analysis may look like. So one other way actually you can overcome this feature identification process is by using deep learning. So sometimes what happens is, because of our domain expertise and our understanding of the process, we have a bias. We think of features in one particular funnel because we are used to it, we understand the process. But sometimes we overlook certain features which might be important or in defining the problem and process itself, right? And sometimes we have enough of data, or we have the possibility of generating enough of data to work with something known as deep learning. So what deep learning does, I believe all of us would be aware of. Deep learning uses artificial neural networks at the back end, or deep neural network in this case, to ensure that it is automatically identifying these features, figuring out what is the way to classify the data or regress the data based on the kind of operation that you want to work with, and give you a proper outcome, right? To give you why this or how this might be important, I want to take you to another story. So this is one of the last stories I'm going to present out here today. So this is for University of Texas, Austin, Texas. I believe that's the correct name. So their students were quite intrigued and quite quite motivated by Stephen Hawking, and they always wondered, right, if there is a possible way to ensure people like Stephen Hawking with motor neurodegenerative diseases to speak, to at least speak, right? So there are many ways by which that is being done right now, by movement of eyes or by trying to figure out, EKG data and, kind of do word by word conversion of what they want to speak and get this thing out. It works. It has been working, but the problem is how effective it is and how time consuming it is, because it's a word by word process. It takes a lot of efforts and time to actually get a complete sentence, a simple complete sentence out, right? So how do you make it better? Now that we have moved into the world of computational efficiency, we have so much compute power. You have understanding of deep learning, which is progressing quite fast. The students started thinking. From there, what they thought of is, why don't we actually utilize magnetic effects that are being generated by the electrical activities naturally happening in your brain? Why don't we use that to convert those signals into phrases? So that's where their idea started. And again, we come back to our workflow, which is kind of standard for all the different workflow, all the different AI related work that you would be doing. So what they did is they thought of converting these brain signals to words and phrases. And for this, they started using wavelet analysis to kind of understand these signals and convert them into feasible images, and then use deep learning to kind of classify these images and not classify, I would say decrypt this, images to words and phrases. And this was done at University of Texas at Austin. Yes. So first thing was acquiring this MEG data, so magnetoencephalography. That data is directly acquired from the device, MEG device, and that's the beauty of this. They did not have to put up an interface out there. They were directly able to connect this and get the information from there. Then they used wavelet transformations to convert the data, the signal, into scalograms. And using the scalograms, which kind of captures these differences in signals and differences in features quite beautifully, they decided to develop a deep learning model. For that, they started using app-based workflows again, which is known as Deep Network Designer. We will take a deeper look into what that is. And then finally, because they felt like doing this on their system is slow, and they had a server which had multiple GPUs in there, so they scaled it up. The entire process that they have done on their PC, they just scaled it up onto the cloud, onto the GPUs. We'll walk you through on how they did this, and then we'll talk about the final bit of this. So Deep Network Designer is basically an interactive platform for you to drag and drop different layers of deep neural network and then use it, and then connect it and then use it for your further analysis. So this actually saves a lot of time when you have to visually inspect what a network would look like. What are the kind of data flow that would be there? What are the kind of parameters that are out there, etc. It also helps you to analyze, if there are any parametric errors that you might have created while setting up these layers. So the auto analysis workflow actually enables you to identify, okay, if this is the filter size that I have set up for this one, the next filter size should be cumulative of the previous ones. So that time it automatically tells you, yes, this is coming up to be wrong, right? So for image data, what you can do is additionally, you can actually acquire data or import data in the same platform, and then you can do the training directly in this platform itself. So that's something I have a video for, and I'll show it to you. And also you have access to multiple pre-trained networks that are already out there directly from the Deep Network Designer. So you can use GoogleNet to SqueezeNet to ResNet, and many other networks have been added over the years. In 2022, we have also added a couple of more regression-based networks out there for your workflows. So again, this is just a bit of it. So just to show you what the University of Texas Austin students would have done, I want to take an ECG classification example, exactly what I believe was one of the questions out here. So let's see what was the workflow, what is the workflow that we can do with this. The reason I'm taking ECG and not MEG is because I do not have the MEG data in the first place. Second thing, it's confidential. And third is ECG data is something that I can share with you, and I have all the demos and examples with you to play around and figure out how to work with this on your own. So I'll be sharing all the files with you, all the demos and examples that I'm presenting out here. You can also try it at your end later on. So again, there are 4 bits. You have to identify the training data. You have to figure out the training signals out there. Then you have to do a time frequency representation of that. That's exactly what you have seen up over here. Then they did something known as transfer learning. I'll talk to you about what that is. And then they found their model. And for inferences, they just shifted the training process because they no longer need to train it. This new signal, time frequency representation, then use a train model for prediction. And then we get the 3 type of classification that we have to work with. How do we get to this, right? So I was talking about Deep Network Designer quite a lot. So let's actually take a look into how ECG classification with wavelet transformation will look like. So we go to Deep Network Designer. We are going to use a pre-trained network, which is known as AlexNet. And what the sense behind this is, I'll just take a pause out here. The sense behind this is we can utilize the features that are being learned that is already very good and learned by a network out there in the public domain, which is quite good at doing what it does, and try to repurpose it to our own use case. And transfer learning is a way by which we repurpose it. I'll give you the workflow later on, but let's see what we are doing out here. So initially, as I mentioned earlier, sorry, I will just skip it to the second part. We select AlexNet out here. We import a pre-trained network into Deep Network Designer. From there, what we do is the basic classification bit is something that actually happens in the last 3 portions of fully connected layer, the softmax layer and the output layer. I'm not going to go into details of this, just for understanding. These are the layers that actually contribute towards classification process itself. So if you are able to replace that with something which is focused and classifying for our class categories, then that is what we need, right? So for example, if this was classifying, let's say MEG signals into, words and phrases, maybe if you wanted to now shift to something on an emotion, let's say MEG signals to happy, sad, jubilant, etc. Then all we have to do is probably we have to change these connections into something new, which will focus and categorize only based on our classes. So what we can do is we can quickly remove the old ones, set up our new ones, connect it interactively, then load the data. Let me actually. Okay, sorry, I think I may have skipped that video. So load that data for us. Yes, go to the data pane, import our data, load that data from a folder or an image data store. So just to give you, data store is an artifact that is built in MATLAB to kind of help you manage big data. So the thing is, it does not let you it enables you to access this data without loading it into memory. It is kind of like a pointer. It points to the location where the data is and only brings it out whenever you need it. So here, once in the training pane, you can actually set up all the options for you. And if you notice, just to take a pause there, I want to take a pause here in the training options bit. If you see, there is an execution environment flag out here. The only thing that you need to do to scale up your process from a CPU to a GPU or to a cluster-based GPU is just to change this flag. You do not have to change any bit of other workflow that you have done. You do not have to rewrite anything. You do not have to make any drastic changes in your code, etc. to get this done. So that's a beauty of working with this application, Deep Network Designer. And you can do the training right away. You can figure out what is the progress of training that is happening as you go ahead. And once the training is done, you can actually evaluate your training by first exporting this model. Let me quickly show you how this is done. You can see the export button is up over here. You can export it or you can generate code for training. Whichever you believe you want to work with, you can actually do that. The beauty is you are not limited to the training loops or training workflows that are present in the application. If you believe this training setup is actually a beginning point of what you want to do, and you want to do a custom kind of training loops, that's also possible. You can also set up your own custom functionalities in terms of fitness, etc. So all the flexibility is with you, whether it is from point to click to an advanced programmatic workflow to ensure that you have full freedom of customizing your own code, that is also there. So with that, let me actually talk a little bit about transfer learning. So in transfer learning, as I mentioned before, what we did is we loaded a pre-trained network, we replaced the final layers. Then in order to train those final layers to ensure that it is categorizing or classifying the correct classes, you have to retrain it. But this time around, you do not need such a big chunk of data. You need a little bit of lesser amount of data, and the process is also quite fast because the earlier layers which are learning the features are quite good. So they do not need to relearn everything. They just need to tweak a little bit, and then you can assess the accuracy and predict if the network is actually performing according to what your needs are, and then deploy the results. So this is a bit of high level overview of transfer learning, and it's quite useful if you want to immediately get a sense and look of what your peers have done, and what direction your networks can work with, or your deep learning journey can take you to. So this is quite useful and quite powerful and quite time efficient. So if you're interested in this, do let me know. There are many other examples I can share with you on this direction. So a couple of other areas or applications that we support are like semantic segmentation, wherein you can actually do a pixel by pixel differentiation of the context of what the image or the video input is. For example, in here it is between roads and cars, etc. You can do this level of analysis also. And on the right, if you see, there's an example from if I'm not wrong, this is a histopathological data of cancer cells in an intestine. So you can do a pixel by pixel analysis and classify, and even not only label, you can also label, you can automate the labeling process, you can also refine the labeling process, you can work on the similar fashion for a 3D data. Then you can do an analysis based on your type of model that you want to work with. So that's something of a powerful workflow that you can actually use. I have talked about ground truth labeling and image augmentation. Just to show you what this may look like, an automation workflow. In here, it was just automatically labeling a car in the video. So just wanted to show what automation may look like. So you can refine it. Like for example, out here, if you see in this example, it was only looking at a single car. It was not identifying the other cars. You can refine your automation algorithm and ensure that all the cars are coming up, and then put it on the majority and plethora of your images or videos, etc. And you can actually get this thing done in much quicker format. So this automation workflow is quite powerful, and it is quite customizable based on your needs and purposes. Last but not the least, this is something that I always highlight. At MathWorks, we believe in enabling engineers and scientists to do their work in the most efficient manner. And we should be able to give them the maximum output for their work. So if your work involves Python, C++, Java, or any other language, so we have ensured that you do not have to rewrite anything, or you do not have to have to worry about getting all the things in one platform again. You can always interface with other language or libraries in other languages from MATLAB, or you can call MATLAB from other coding environment also. If there is anything that you believe is, this is something that MATLAB does good, or this is something that the Python would do good, and you want the best of both worlds, you can always interface. And we are more than happy to help you and support you into identifying which part, you believe you can bring it from MATLAB, or which part do you want to bring it from other languages. If there are any challenges, how do we support you? How can we help you? These are the kind of things that we can always work with you on. So let's head back to our challenges. I believe we are running a little, pressing for time. So we'll head back to our challenges that we talked about. We have challenges that we talked about in terms of handling data, gathering data, accessing this large amount of data, to the time that we spend fuzzing over whether, what is the error in the code, why there is no, there is a mismatch in what I was getting in the simulation phase and what I'm getting in the deployment phase. What is the kind of ramping up, that I need to do for multiple tools and languages that I need, softwares of unknown provenance, and manual coding. So how MATLAB can help you with a couple of these are, there are built-in functions to handle large data sets. You do not have to worry about, out of memory data. We have functionalities and robustness to capture all those cases for you and help you work in a similar fashion for all the kind of data that you have. There are app-driven workflows to help you, speed up the process, ensure that you are spending more time solving problems than coding itself, right? And then all the domain-specific toolboxes and everything is in the same platform. And you do not need to actually go on to different tools or toolbox, tools or workflows to actually identify and get these functionalities out there. If you believe there is something missing out in your domain, which is not there as part of MATLAB already, we are more than happy to listen to you. That's how we have been progressing all this year. We listen to you. We'll be happy to connect you with the development team to ensure that you have the required functionality at your utility. And last but not the least, we do have trusted in mission critical applications out there which have been backed by industry support, which have been also used for ensuring that it is all approved by proper authorization authorities, etc. So compliance is one of the key things that you can confirm with MATLAB, and that's something that we actually work with you also. If there are any compliance that you want us to work with to ensure that you are getting that required approval, statuses and licenses, etc. And then last but not the least, there are automated code generation workflows. We'll take a little bit of look into this as we move ahead to ensure that you are able to automatically embed or deploy your systems onto your products, and these products will make it to the market faster. We help you with that. So because I was talking about deployment in the end, so there are certain things in MATLAB, which helps you to directly deploy your MATLAB codes and models to your end hardware, whether it is CPU, whether it is GPU, whether it is FPGA. You can actually deploy it with a click of your button, because automatically the code is being generated, it is qualified, it is curated, it is ensured that it is accurately depicting what you are actually simulating, right? So that's the kind of thing that can ensure you that your validation verification workflow is also up to the scale, and you do not have to wait till the end to actually get things moving across. So automatic code generation of MATLAB code to the deployment target. That's the kind of workflow that is there for embedded system deployment. We directly support a lot of embedded systems, so this workflow actually is quite prominent there. Now, if you want to send it across to a different vertical altogether, so we have talked about hardware deployment, but what if you want to scale it to enterprise systems, whether you want to create a standalone application out of it? You can do that with MATLAB compiler. You can also create it as an add-on or a library for other languages, or you can put it up on your server so that you can actually share it across your different personnels in your company or in your institution, to ensure that you're all collaboratively utilizing the work that you have done. And anyways, I have talked about the embedded hardware support, so I'll move ahead with this. So last but not the least, we have to talk about approvals, right? That's very important. When we work in medical industry, approvals are very important because lives depend on it, right? So typically it has multiple things. We have to validate, we have to verify, we have to document, we have to report how how is our software working, or how is our process working, medical device working, etc. So what our focus would be in this case would to perform a tool validation. And in our case, we are focusing on 21 CFR Part 820 of FDA validation requirements, wherein we are talking about softwares in medical area. What it says is this is applicable to software that is a part or an accessory of a medical device, it's a medical device itself, or is used in manufacturing, designing and development, or other parts of the quality system. That means whatever tools that you use, they also need to be validated. Now the question comes up, is MATLAB validated by FDA? Because we're talking about medical area, FDA is the validator, right? So there is a dedicated page for you to read more about your FAQs about software validation for FDA. But one thing I want to highlight out here is FDA does not certify or validate what tools you use. It's not the software development tool that is being validated. What it validates is whether the tool that has been developed for your use case is able to perform repeatedly without error, or what is the error margin when it is working for your use case. And if there is an error, what is the impact of that error is something that FDA validates, and it kind of accredits, approves. So the point is, the correct question would be not whether MATLAB is validated by FDA, but to how do you validate MATLAB for your context, right? What is your context of use? You want to validate that in an FDA regulated workflow. So how do you do this, right? So once you have identified the context of use, you figure out what is the use of your medical device, what is the, what are the edge cases, what are the acceptable levels, what are the acceptable limits, etc. Once you have identified those contexts for you, we have tools such as tool validation kit that has been specifically built for this medical device industry, which contains unit test cases for base MATLAB functionalities to ensure that the numerical part of things or computational part of things are coming out in a preferred format, repeatable format. There are tests that have been test cases that have been set up for domain specific toolboxes that you would be working with. Then there are template test cases to scale up your testing environment to the context of your use. For example, the default test cases may not be the only things to ensure that your tools are working in the required format. There might be many other things. So these template test cases helps you to kind of scale it up further. Last but not the least, you have to generate a report out of this. So it automatically helps you generate report. And to do this, we have a small example of how a generated report would look like as a template, and also a documentation to help you walk you through this tool validation suite so that you can set up your own validation plan. Okay. So if you are interested in such a tool, do let us know by dropping a mail on medical@mathworks.com, or you can reach out to me, Praful, Mahin, or Kapil. We'll be more than happy to work with you and share this with you. So this tool would look something like this, of a graphical user interface, which helps you to identify what test cases you want to work with, what kind of a report you want to generate, and get those tests and generate reports. So this is quite robust, and because of this testing framework that is available in MATLAB, it makes it easy for you to do your testing quite frequently and in the early stages itself, so that towards the end you do not have to do a drastic revamp of your code frame and you have to figure out what's happening, etc. So there are different testing framework available for you to work, and there are also performance testing framework that you can work with, so that your code is not only working according to what you want, it is also quick. And if there is any area that you want or you can improve your code functionality and features with, that's also there. So with that, I would like to wrap up and share some resources. I'm sorry I'm running a little late on this time, but there are many solution pages out there for you to visit and take a look at. I will share this presentation slide with you so that you can go back and refer to these resources. There is one website that I would highly recommend you to go back and take a look at, if possible, that is MATLAB Academy. It contains a lot of practical on-ramp courses to help you, get a flavor of what it feels like for working with MATLAB on machine learning, deep learning, or, if you're interested by using this on-ramps, which are like short duration interactive sessions or, training courses for you. If you find that these are quite useful and you want to know more about it and get an in-depth understanding of how to work with different verticals in MATLAB, you can always go with other self-learning courses which are there, which is machine learning with MATLAB and deep learning with MATLAB, depending on your use cases and depending on your domain and requirements. There are signal processing, image processing workflow related on-ramps also. So you should definitely go and try this, and you'll get a flavor of this different workflows that I have shared today. You can work with it interactively online and get a sense of whether it is useful for you or not. And there is also a Coursera course on practical data science with MATLAB specialization, which is offered by MathWorks. You can also take a look at that. And if you're interested to know more or learn more for a specific use case, you believe, okay, you have understood that this is something which it is important for you, and now you want to train your colleagues or yourself onto a particular use case of AI related workflow. We also have instructor-led courses via training teams that will help you to learn AI from experts. There are multitude of domain experts with us. There are advanced AI courses that we can take in person and hybrid, depending on your comfort level and what is the current scenario. And it has been, over the previous iterations of when we have done this, we have seen that the teams that receive 40 hours of training actually are able to quickly deploy and work with their objectives and achieve that, because that's very focused to what your requirement is. It's not generic. And if you are pressed on time and you want actually certain consultancy, we are always there with the consultancy services to actually enable you to achieve your results faster, and you get the return on investment that you are going to put up on the consultancy firm. So what I want to conclude with is MathWorks is your AI partner. MathWorks is your data science and medical device partner. What we look for is not only providing you with the platform, we look at helping you build a team of people that actually is revolutionizing the world, and we want to be a part of that team with you. We want to ensure that we, using our expertise in our different domains, are able to add value to the people, and to ensure that you are able to get the best use of the platform, and to ensure that you are making groundbreaking changes that you're already working on, and to ensure that if possible there is a possibility of speeding it up. We want to speed it up as much as possible. So with that, I'll like to wind up for the question and answers portion. You can reach out to me or Praful if you have any further questions or any any queries that you want to discuss further. If there is anything related to startup and accelerator program that you want to know more about, or what support you want, or if there is any particular point that you want to discuss further, please feel free to drop a mail to us. We'll be more than happy to take a look into this. And if there is something that we believe we can bring in expertise of different domain experts, we do have multitudes of their own domain experts in our company at MathWorks, and we would be loving to get them in touch with you and to see all the possible ways that we can actually add value to you. So with that, I think I'll I'll stop, and let's take up the questions. Is it okay if I take up questions for 5 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Great. Meanwhile, there is a I'm so sorry, just one small update.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
okay.
if you're hard pressed on time and you have to take a leave, please do not mind. There is a feedback form out there in the chat window. The feedback form is out there for us to know more about what your requirements are, to know more about what what you might be requiring from our end and how we can help you. So do fill out the feedback form, and we'll be happy to get in touch with you and to figure out what and how we can support you. So if there are any questions, meanwhile, I can take it up. Praful and I can take it up. And if you're hard pressed for time, please feel free to drop in your questions in the feedback form. We can take it up from there also.
If anyone wants to ask a question, you can raise their hands. We'll make sure to unmute them, or they can put their questions in chat as well.
So I'm taking a look into the chat. Praful, do let me know if there is any question or something.
Yeah, before looking into while we are looking into the chat for any questions, in case someone wants to ask a question over audio, that would be great. So please raise your hand for that. And yeah, in terms of the questions which were already there, Akhil, maybe there were a few on, say, whether you could modify deep neural networks in MATLAB to accept, say, different sized images or so on. So if you want to maybe open up Deep Network Designer and just highlight that, that would be great. Or
okay, yeah, definitely. Let me actually share my screen. I think that would be better. Let me know if MATLAB screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
it is.
Okay, let me quickly actually jump to the Deep Network Designer. So it's going to take a few seconds to open up. So if I'm not wrong, the point is to change the image size
Yep.
of the input image, right?
Yes, and specifically 3D images.
Okay. Let's first take a look at the traditional input layer, image input layer, and then we'll scale it up to the other ones, right? So when you typically open up, you'll get a start page and you'll come up to the Deep Network Designer. Sorry, I did not show you where I got this. This is under the apps pane in MATLAB. You can find it out under the machine and deep learning section. It will open up, the Deep Network Designer. Out here, there are layers on the left side. So I'm just going to put up the image input layer out here. So if you notice, the moment I drop in one layer, on the right side, there is a property pane that comes up. So out here, you get that option to change your input size. So you can always change your input size and the size of the image that you want to input. This is for 2D. If I do the same thing for 3D, you will see we'll add another vertical or another channel to this, and you can actually get this 3D image also in the same format. I hope that answers your question, or is my understanding of the question right?
Yes.
And is
yes,
this what you were looking for?
Sure. Yes. I think this answers it. Okay. So there are a couple of questions on how some very new users so are there examples in the energy and climate domain, or also how it can be used in chemical process engineering? So if you could maybe use the website to navigate to something, or the MATLAB Academy page.
Sure. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So there are two parts to this, if I'm not wrong. One is for a new user, how to get started, if I'm not wrong. That's the first part, right?
Yep.
Sorry, I'm having this weird problem with my I'm not able to kind of navigate this Zoom bar is there. So there are two things I wanted to show out here. One is MATLAB Academy.mathworks.com. So this is exactly the same MATLAB Academy that I was talking about, wherein you have on-ramp courses. So there are different parts of this. Like getting started part is one that I believe would be suitable for you to get started and get a flavor of what things are. So it involves not only MATLAB on-ramp, it involves Simulink on-ramp, machine learning, deep learning, image processing, reinforcement learning, and so on and so forth. So this will help you to get started with MATLAB and to understand what MATLAB functionalities are there, what different application areas of MATLAB may look like. And for chemical processes, I believe one of the getting started points would be the control design on-ramp. But there are many more. I can talk to you more about that. And I'm happy to see a chemical related question also coming up. So this is one area that you can actually get to. And there is a specific AI machine learning, deep learning area for you if you're interested more in this area to get a little bit more deeper insight into what's happening. Now with that, let me actually also show you this. So these are virtual and in-person classes. These are high-level classes if you want, and also on a broader area. These classes can be modified, but these are not available directly like in a free mode. You have to enroll on this and get more get yourself registered for this. So if you're interested in any of this, I believe you can reach out to us, and Mahin and us would be more than happy to assist you into ensuring that you are able to find a couple of these which are useful for your workflow. Now to talk about examples. That's one of the most beautiful things that personally I believe is there in terms of AI using MATLAB and Simulink. So if you navigate to MathWorks website, the first thing that you will see is actually we do acknowledge the fact that AI is actually revolutionizing the world. So we have a dedicated startup page for that itself, and here you can directly go to deep learning. If not, you can always go to solutions. If you're not able to find that, in the solutions you have different application areas that will help you to navigate based on whether your application area is out there, or based on industry, or based on disciplines. For example, I believe right now it's based on industry. So there is energy production, utilities and energy, chemicals and petro and oil and gas. You can click on any. I'll just click on energy. So out there, this page contains all the information about what are the different examples, what are the different learning materials, what are the different videos of lectures that you can actually take a look at with examples of how industry is applying MATLAB and Simulink for their own industry use cases. Whether it is predictive analytics or whether it is using a particular tool, etc. So it also guides you and navigates you through some stories of users, what they have done and how they have been using it. And see, there is also an IIT Bombay story out here if you want to take a look at. So this is a video from Professor Natarajan from IIT Bombay. You can actually take a look into how he has been using MATLAB and Simulink to dynamically model a turbine engine. So this is something that you can actually take a look at. This is from 2018. I'll just share the link in the chat for you to everyone. So do take a look at this. So, and apart from this, there are many other examples for you. So you can explore the product-based examples, or you can explore area-based examples and videos, like if it is PV solar cells, etc. And so on and so forth. So there are multitude of areas that you can actually work with. And similarly, if you want to go for any other area, you can come to the industries. If you want a generic understanding of a vertical like application areas, you can actually refer to this. And if you believe, after going through all of this, if you believe, or if you think you're not able to identify or pinpoint any of the verticals that is important and relevant to you, you can always reach out to me, Praful, Maheen, or Kapil. We will be more than happy to ensure that you are able to find the right pages, right resources, etc. If there are no resources available online, we'll try to see if we have some internal resources to share with you. If not, we'll actually let you know, and we'll be more than happy to work with you into creating something new for you. Okay. Does that answer your questions, Praful and others?
Yeah, I think Akhil, that answers it pretty much.
Great, thank you so much.
I don't see any other particular questions. I think we've answered quite a bit. Okay, there's one last thing. Can we secure our code? So do you want to talk a bit about that? Yes.
So by securing your codes, there are a couple of things that comes into my mind. I'll just speak about the first thing that comes up. It is basically to encrypt my MATLAB code file so that it is safe and secure. Some functionalities which I don't want others to see, but I want them to kind of use it, is something that comes to my mind. So there is something known as P coding. I'll quickly try to see if I can actually P code MATLAB files. That is first thing that comes to my mind when I talk about content obscured MATLAB files. So this helps you to kind of obfuscate your MATLAB code, encrypt it so that only others would be able to see some gibberish in there, but they will be able to use the function, but they won't be able to change any functionality which you have put up. So that's the beauty of using P files. This is one. You can always create maybe applications out of it, some modules out of it. Yes, there are many other ways also, but depending on what kind of security or what kind of secureness you are looking for, we have multiple things we can suggest for you. So this is just one of this. Yes, even for medical data and security. Yes. Yes, so that comes up in data acquisition, data management vertical, from the database management vertical. Yes, we can do that too. So if you have any specific query on that, I can connect you with an expert in the security bit, and he would be able to give you a little bit more insights onto different algorithms out there to help you with this too. I hope that answers your question, Vijaya. You're welcome. Praful, any other questions? And please do ensure that you fill out the feedback form.
Yeah, Akhil, I don't think we have any others, so maybe we could just
wind up
the feedback form and wind up.
Yeah, great. So thank you everyone, and first of all, thank you SINE team for enabling us and getting us this platform to talk to everyone. It's been a pleasure to talk to all, and thank you for all the thank you to all the participants for coming up, taking your time out from the busy schedule to hear us and to share your queries and valuable feedback. It is very helpful for us, and we'll look forward to continued interaction with you and to collaborate with you. And hopefully we will be able to add value, much more than much more value to you than what we have done already. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Akhil. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Mahi.
I'll stop sharing my screen, Aditya.
Sure. Yeah. So thanks, everyone. Thank you so much for collaborating with us and taking this session for the ecosystem what we have and sharing some interesting features from MATLAB. I hope people have enjoyed it, and through your feedback form or through us, we will definitely connect. If anyone come to us, want some more information regarding MATLAB and MATLAB, we'll definitely connect them with you. Thanks. Thank you so much for taking this.
Sure. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Akhil. Thanks.
Thank you.
Prabhu.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone, and have a great day. Bye.